Hi, I'm Carla Brown from Trashmagination, and I weave plastic bags into beautiful mats and storage baskets. And I've made a few other videos that you can watch before this to learn how to prepare before you start weaving. But now we're going to do the stage where we actually weave the plastic bags on the floor loom. And I've pre-braided about 10 feet of plastic bags into what I call plastic bag yarn. And then we are going to learn how it goes on the warp. So here we go. So here's the warp that we put on the loom in the previous video. So be sure to watch that if you're wondering how this got here. And all we're going to do now is take the plastic bag braid and put it in. And this is called the weft. So the warp is the part that's on the loom that's vertical, and the weft is the part that goes back and forth that is horizontal. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate between stepping on petals 1 and 3 and petals 2 and 4. And when I do that each time, it opens up a little space in between. This is called the shed, and I'm going to put my weft in the shed. So start putting the weft in there. Just lay it there and alternate my feet to petals 2 and 4. And when I did that, it made everything in the warp shift and put different threads on the top. So when I put the next part of the weft in, all I'm doing is twisting it so that it lays flat next to the other one. I use the beater to pull it tight, but not that tight because I'm just at the beginning, and we can tighten it up later. Switching to petals 1 and 3. A new shed, and I put it through. Now, most people when they weave, they have the weft on something that keeps it neat and tidy. I'm not doing that because I'm not actually going to have that much weft to prepare in advance. The first time I ever did this, I braided like 50 feet of plastic bag braid, and I couldn't fit it through the shed, so that didn't work out. So I just have maybe 10 feet going at the most, and just weave it in. And what I'm doing with my hand here is trying to make the loops the same width, and they're going to stick out a little bit past the furthest part of the warp. So I just twist it to make it lie flat and pull the loop so that it's about the same length as the previous one. Now once I have quite a bit on there, quite a few rows, I can use my fingers to tighten it up a little bit and bring it closer. With threads like cotton, the beater is enough to get everything up tight and close to each other, but with plastic bags, because everything's a little more thick and chunky, I use my fingers to pull it tight. Now at this point, the shed is getting very tiny. The space between me and the beater is very small, so I'm going to advance the warp. And every loom is a little bit different in how they advance the warp, but it's usually a lever somewhere that you pull on it, and then it increases the space between what you've already weaved and the beater. And if you stop and start again and you're like, I don't remember whether I was stepping on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4, it's really easy to tell, because if you're stepping on the wrong one, then this is really loose. But if you step on the correct one, then it can't go anywhere. So at this point, I run out of weft that I had already braided. So what I would do is I would stop weaving and I would braid like another 8 to 10 feet of braided rope, and then come back and weave again. And what's nice about this for me is I can alternate between weaving and braiding, weaving and braiding. When I'm braiding, I'm usually standing up and I walk while I braid, so I get steps. And sometimes I can get like 20,000 steps in a day when I'm braiding and weaving plastic bags. So you can get your exercise when you're weaving, which is kind of fun. So that's as much as I'm going to show today. I will keep weaving there. And then once I have something that's the right length that I'm happy with it, I will stop and just tie a knot and leave it. And then on the same warp, I might do a few pieces. And in another video, I'll show how I take the warp off the loom and finish off the pieces. But just one reminder is that, you know, you can use your fingers to yank on the braids to make them tighter. And it's okay if there's a little bit of space in between, like a little bit of air, because when it's done and it lets go of the loom, it all comes together a little bit as well.